Live on Global, the NewsHour's top stories.
Hundreds gather in the rain and wind to pay tribute to the Air India victims.
And now, the NewsHour with Tony Parsons.
Good evening. Hundreds of people gathered half a world away today to remember the 329 people, many of them Canadian, who lost their lives in an act of terrorism. Air India Flight 182, which originated in Vancouver, went down off the coast of Ireland exactly 20 years ago. Friends, family and politicians marking this day on a windy shore in Ireland, with music and prayers for the victims. Some family members also expressing frustration that no one has been found responsible for this tragedy. The mourners are here at a rocky point in a tiny town along the Irish coast, near Cork, the town closest to where Flight 182 crashed into the Atlantic Ocean 2 decades ago. And that's where our Samantha Falk is tonight.
Against a dreary gray backdrop, relatives of the Air India victims lay flowers and burn incense at the memorial to their loved ones. They have come from all over the world, from India to Vancouver, to acknowledge this somber anniversary.
Nothing has changed. The pain is still there.
But there are also hundreds of people here who call County Cork home and have somehow been touched by the tragedy.
Very quickly realised that there would probably be no survivors.
Captain Jim Robinson was in charge of the ship that led the recovery mission, and he's still haunted by the memories.
I don't like coming here. It releases all things that I keep boxed up. So it's difficult to see the people who are left behind and they're still grieving.
Several Canadian politicians, including Prime Minister Paul Martin and Premier Gordon Campbell, also made the journey.
This year is a very difficult year for all of the families. I think that they hoped that they could find some resolution through the legal case that was brought forward. They didn't feel that. It was they don't feel that that's happened yet, and I think that we have to show that we're there. We still support them. There's still work ongoing. There's still investigations ongoing, and no one's intending to let up on that until we find the resolution that we are looking for.
The ceremony began with prayers, followed by heartfelt speeches by some of the families.
It is radiant happiness which comes to that person,
including Eddie Madon from Vancouver, who lost his father when he was 8 years old.
It's very emotional, but it's very serene, and it's very nice to be here in Ireland, and the people are just so great.
More than 200 Canadians died on that plane, and Martin is the first Canadian Prime Minister ever to visit the memorial site. Some family members had hoped his presence here meant that today he'd announce a public inquiry.
In so many ways, this is a Canadian tragedy.
In his speech, Martin declared this a national day of remembrance for victims of terrorism, but fell short of calling for the inquiry.
It's 20 years, and it's feeling very frustrating that we still are. It's hurting so deeply.
If the Canadian government and the RCMP, after 20 years or 15 years of investigation, couldn't get enough evidence, then I'd like to know, what actually is the truth.
The ceremony ended with 329 balloons being released into the sky, one for every victim. Then the same number of paper lanterns were set afloat in the Atlantic, the same waters where Air India Flight 182 and its passengers came to rest. The site of the memorial in Ahakista, Ireland, is a very beautiful and serene place. And some of the families, including a few from Vancouver, have decided to stay on for a few days. As somber as today's ceremony was, it was packed with people, and they've decided to stay to be able to have a chance to mourn in private. Tony?
All right, Samantha, thank you.